Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Full reaction to the Saints loss to Buffalo coming up in 15 minutes. We'll chat with Denton Day, Sirius XM College Football Overtime, 30 minutes from right now. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us on the Hunt Palmer Show on this Monday. Back, I guaranteed you a dominant week.
You did.
In picks,
You
Southeastern
did.
Conference against the spread, and I delivered.
Yeah, you did not deliver, actually.
3-4. I keep getting beat by half a point. This is garbage.
It did happen
It happened
a couple
twice.
of times. It did.
Twice.
Yep.
I had A&M minus 6.5. They lost by they won by 7, and I had Tennessee minus 7.5, and they won by 7. Horse hockey, half a point.
It is half a point. Big deal.
But a 3-4 week. I think we got to talk about the way that it all played out. It starts in Fayetteville. I had the Hogs with the backdoor cover plus 4.5. How'd that go?
It did not go well, Hunt.
Did not go well. I was in a sports book for that game doing the pregame show, and every time I looked up, they were scoring another touchdown. And not only were they scoring a touchdown, they were doing so with no resistance. So it wasn't like they were plowing through at the goal line. They were just running out in the open and getting a touchdown. It was the worst defensive performance I have ever passively watched. And the question came up in a group chat that involves myself, Chris Marler, Jacob Hester, Matt Flynn, Matt Moscona. Marler texts us every Thursday to pick games for a graphic for the social media, so we've got a little group text. And the question had to be posed, is this Arkansas defense worse than LSU's 2 years ago? And right now, I think you could make the case for it. It would be tough because that LSU defense was real bad. But this Arkansas defense, my goodness. I mean, Notre Dame has a fine offense, but it was just Sherman through Georgia. It was right through every time. They almost scored 50 in the first half.
Here's the drives for Notre Dame on offense. Touchdown, 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 downs. Touchdown, end of game.
Oh, my God.
They had one drive they didn't score a touchdown on, and it was because they went for it on fourth down.
Oh, that's incredible. Look, Sam Pittman got off to a good start there in the COVID year, won a couple of games, but it all just kind of fell apart over the last couple of years, and that job is just really, really hard. Because you now have Texas and Oklahoma in the league. That's 2 more powers in the league. And so when you have a 9-game schedule and you realize that every single year you're going to be tangling with Texas and Oklahoma and A&M and LSU and Ole Miss is really good now and Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee. There's just no – I mean, Vanderbilt's not even a gimme right now. And so Arkansas is playing with a talent disadvantage almost every week. And there's no in-state talent. They're not committed to the NIL portion of it. You heard the athletic director literally come out and say, we're not set up to win in football. Like, it's just a brutal job. Now, Petrino wants it really badly. And the question is he going to get to do this again? He just did it at Louisville, and they finally ran him out of town, going back for a second run. And now he's at Arkansas as the interim head coach for a second time. And we'll see if they give him that job. I don't know who wants it, when you consider that it's just going to be almost impossible to win there.
I listened to Live at Lunch earlier today. They were saying there's no current odds on any, on an offshore book. They said Petrino was 7th on the odds list. Rhett Lashley is the leading name right now. But if you think about it, which they also mentioned, SMU probably has more money for NIL than Arkansas.
That's a great NIL spot, and they play terrible teams every week. So
then it becomes, okay, Is he a guy that wants to challenge himself in the SEC, or does he want to just keep staying in?
That is the point. But it's like, if you want to do that, wait for Auburn to come open.
Yeah.
Wait for South Carolina. South Carolina's not a great example, but wait. I mean, Florida's about to come open. I mean, like, it's like signing a death certificate. I realize that coaches aren't wired like that, but the odds of you going to Arkansas and building a successful program that consistently wins 8, 9, 10 games are almost none. Almost. And if you're getting paid handsomely at an ACC job right now, and you've got a clear path to the playoff, and you've got a program that's set up to pay people in an NIL, which SMU invented, basically, that to me would be a bad career move.
No, I agree with you, and I would think the same way. You just never know. Like you said, coaches are wired differently. He may see it as a challenge and want to take that challenge, and so we'll see. But Red Lashley, obviously John Summerall at Tulane are a couple of guys that people are mentioning.
And it's a great payday. And look, if you take that job and you do get fired, you get a huge check. Ask Chad Morris how that works out. He didn't win a single league game.
Sam Pittman's going to make some money.
Chad Morris is tied with my cat for career SEC wins. Just has significantly more money than Teeny. If you look at it that way, you can take the job and run with it. As far as Sam Pittman goes, this is not a significant thing, but like if he should, I'm sure he's having a couple cold beers today out on the lake. Good race. Ran a good race. He was a great offensive line coach for some dominant programs in the Power 5. He got a chance to be a head coach. It didn't go great at the end, but he did win some games there at Arkansas and made a bunch of money. Just relax. Don't go back and get into the mix. Just go out to the lake.
Seems like maybe a Coach O deal where you just kind of ride off in the sunset.
Go to the lake. He loves it there. I don't know if he'll want to stay near Fayetteville. Depends kind of what you want to do. But yeah, that's the end of the line, I think, for Sam Pittman. Obviously, that was just an embarrassing 2 weeks there for Arkansas, losing to Memphis and then getting annihilated on your home field by Notre Dame. Biggest game, obviously, Alabama and Georgia. I said this after the Wisconsin game, and I stand by it. Ty Simpson turned a corner somewhere in early September because the guy that we saw against Florida State looked awful. And then you come back and you beat a no-name school by 1 million and no one cares. But I watched that Wisconsin game solely because of the TV window it's in. Because when LSU plays a night game, I usually leave my house around 2. And when I leave my house, I go and I'm doing the pregame show on a set, and I can't really watch games, and then I go watch LSU, and then I do postgame, and I can't really watch. So the only window that I can really dive into and watch on a lot of home games where it's a night game is the early window, and Alabama played Wisconsin at 11. And he looked great in that game. On time, in rhythm, accurate. Like, it just looked really good. And I'm going, this is something. And I thought he played really, really well on Saturday. I thought Gunnar Stockton played valiantly. But ultimately, I think as you look at that game, nothing fluky about it. Alabama just went in there and beat Georgia. And there is something about that program that Kirby Smart can't conquer. It is crazy. They beat everybody else, and cannot beat Alabama. It is the most odd thing. But that's a big, big win for Kalen DeBoer, big win for Alabama, and I think you can consider the Tide a real threat to make the playoff at this point, and nobody was suggesting that after they went to Tallahassee and got thumped. Auburn, Texas A&M, good job by the Aggies to win really with defense. They went up to Notre Dame and had to do everything on their offense, and then they come back and play Auburn, and they do it with their defense in a very low-scoring game. I think A&M's pretty good. I thought they looked good on paper in July. I thought that Mike Elko would get the defense to play pretty well. And I said this in July as well. This is just kind of a hunch thing. I went back and watched all the SEC quarterbacks on YouTube before BD days as kind of a refresher. And when I watched Marcel Reed's highlights from last year, I thought to my head, that's better than I remember it. And he wasn't great on Saturday, but he made some plays. I thought A&M did run the ball very well, and that's what they're built for. They got a veteran offensive line and 2 really good running backs, Le'Veon Moss being the lead one. And their defense just stymied Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze. And I don't think that Jackson Arnold is very good, and I think Hugh Freeze has just had quarterback problems the whole time he's been at Auburn. Peyton Thorne is not an answer, and I don't think that Jackson Arnold is an answer. But they play hard, and they've been competitive in 2 very, very hostile road environments. Oklahoma and A&M back-to-back week. That's a tough 2-game road session. They don't have a win to show for it, But I think that you saw Auburn play hard and play some pretty decent defense in that game. Mississippi State, Jeff Levy's doing a great job with them. Had them, they probably should have won that game against Tennessee. They got it to overtime and ultimately couldn't get it done in overtime. But for them to put up points like that against a pretty talented Tennessee defense, and then to make some plays on defense, they didn't make a lot of plays on defense. But keep in mind, last year their defense was historically awful. And they've done a good job to kind of restock the shelves and be competent. And when you consider that they've played two reasonably good opponents on their home field, they beat Arizona State and they were right there with Tennessee. That's impressive stuff by Jeff Levy and Mississippi State. I think that the expectations there are pretty low for this season, but they've played well to this point, so credit to them. If you recall in my pick segment on Friday, I took South Carolina and laid 5.5 points, and I did so because I said, here are Kentucky's ranks that I pulled up from the SEC, 16-team league. 13th in total offense, 12th in scoring offense, 16th in passing offense, 13th in scoring defense, 11th in running defense, 16th in total defense, 15th in passing defense. I'm going, Kentucky's not good at anything. And lo and behold, Kentucky is not good at anything. And South Carolina hammered them. I have to think Mark Stoops is the next to go in the SEC. I realize Billy Napier is going to get a lot of cash on that as well. But Kentucky has to move on. That thing fractured when he got on that plane to go to College Station.
Yep, they've got to go to Athens.
Nope,
and then they've got to play Texas.
Here's the deal. When's the bye week?
It is.
Have they already had one?
No, they haven't. Wait, let's see. August, September. Oh yeah, they did. They had a bye week after the Eastern Michigan game to South Carolina. Okay. So they've got Georgia next week in Athens. They got to play Texas at home. Oh, they do have another bye week though after Georgia. So yeah, so then they go.
So the next up is Georgia bye.
Yes.
Okay.
If they lose to Georgia, then that's probably out after that.
Can Napier get there? He's got Texas this week.
I think he can.
Going to be. Then he can go up to Sam Pittman's Lake House. Hang out. I'm sure Coach Pittman's got a big cooler full of stuff.
Absolutely.
And look, they can afford to go buy new stuff.
Oh, they can buy whatever they want.
Buy boats, jet skis. It's going to be a lake party at the Pittman residence. Napier's there. Stoops is there. They can find some other people. Virginia Tech's coach, Key or whoever it was, he can come over. Just a Pittman pool lake party with all the buyout cash. That's what needs to happen in short order. And Stoops can bring the bourbon from over there in Kentucky. That's a good idea. All right.
You forgot about one game, Hunt. You got there. One game, backdoor cover, the Aggies, Utah State.
I knew it.
Oh yeah, you knew it. It was never in doubt, was it?
Had them plus 23 and a hook.
Yes,
and they got there to 20.
They did. Vanderbilt was winning this game at 48-21, and they let the Aggies turn around, score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Knew it.
The Aggies scored a touchdown with 55 seconds left to get the cover.
That's what we need. That's the kind of performance and toughness we need from the teams that we pick.
Just worth noting. Go ahead.
Season long, we have the updated running total season long picks against the spread. We are currently 19-29 on the season.
Yes, very good stuff from you. Classic performance from Hunt Palmer on the picks against the spread.
May have to make some adjustments on Friday.
Maybe so.
All right, let's come back and talk Saints next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Denton Day coming up in 10 minutes. We'll talk all things college football with Denton. He joins us every single Monday. We forecasted doom for the New Orleans Saints on Sunday, and they lost, but they covered. Only lost by 12 points. A competitive effort for the black and gold up there against one of the best teams in the NFL. The now 4-0 Buffalo Bills Saints fall to 0-4. But there was some good in this game for the Saints. I thought specifically the ground game really looked good. You handed the ball off 34 times for 189 yards. Kamara ran for 70 on 4.5 yards a carry. Miller ran for 65 on 6 yards per carry. He also scored a touchdown. he kind of looks the part that you thought he was going to look. Got that burst, got that explosion, got those fresh legs, and Alvin Kamara found some running lanes as well. So I thought that was a good job by the Saints offensive line. It's so important for the Saints to run the ball a little bit this year to help the young quarterbacks. Right now, that is, of course, Spencer Rattler, who was just okay in this game, managed things fairly well, didn't turn it over. The interception, 18 of 27 for 126 yards, isn't going to win you a lot of football games. You need to be a little bit more productive down the field. But he did throw a touchdown pass, and you got a little wonky with the Olave ridiculous play call. They throw that, and he throws an interception. That was a little too creative for my blood.
Yeah, that was a big moment in the game, because at that point, Your offense is playing well, and it's a 4-point game, and you're almost there into the second half, and you're moving the ball. You're in the red zone, and you run the Philly special, and Olave just throws up a lollipop, and it's a great play by Bishop for the Bills, but still just didn't really add up to me on going with that play there. And like I said, the offense was playing well, so that was a weird decision at that point.
You did a decent job against Allen. Cook went nuts, and that was bound to happen. But if we're going to talk defense, I think it's the first thing we have to talk about is the development of Jonas Sanker. He really looks the part. Of course, the interception was an amazing play. That's awesome. But it's down in, down out, really. He's making tackles. He's in coverage. He's making plays on the ball. And this is a guy that was hyped up significantly by the media that was allowed to watch training camp. This is a name we saw consistently. And what do we continue to say about the Saints? These draft picks have got to come on. And this is one of your draft picks. These are what you hope to be the foundational pieces of the franchise moving forward. And you've got to get 3 or 4 starters out of these drafts. You cannot have Isaiah Foskey's. And Sanker is a mid-round pick and is a guy that looks every bit the part of a starter. Now, I like what I'm seeing from Banks. That's a positive, sure. We haven't seen Shook yet. But you start to get beyond that, and picks start to have a lower probability of hitting once you get into 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. And Sanker's a mid-round pick, and I think he looks really, really good back there at safety. You obviously had an opportunity to get him to the field pretty quickly because Tyrann Mathieu abruptly retires, and then you have an injury that costs safety a year. So you got to go to the young pups, and Sanker is absolutely balling out. I thought he played great in the game. Pro Football Focus backs that up. He finished with 5 passes defensed, 3 passes defensed, 5 tackles, and had that interception. So great play by Jonas Sanker. I thought was very, very good. I noticed Kool-Aid McKinstry. You don't always want a corner to lead your team in tackles. That generally means they're allowing a lot of catches. But I thought he was better in this game. And that's kind of what you're looking for is gradual steps forward, right? They're 0-4. They're not winning games. They're losing this game by 2 scores, and we're calling it basically a moral victory. Like, all that we know. But we're just looking for development. And you're starting to see that from some of the guys. You're seeing that from Kendre Miller. You're seeing that from Jonas Sanker. I think you're seeing that from Banks as well. What you're not seeing, and to bring this full circle and to put a bow on it, you're not seeing significant development from Spencer Rattler to me. He just is. He checks it down a lot. He's really safe with it. There's not a lot of production offensively. You're not scoring 20 points really ever. You're not hitting a lot of big plays. It's just a very safe, boring, vanilla offense. And my hope is that some of that starts to change over the next couple of weeks. I was in a group chat yesterday, and we were texting about the Saints game, and one of the Saints fans in the group chat was like, I'm excited about the next 2 weeks. They might have a chance to win. And like that's now what you get to look for. You knew once you started 0-2 with those 2 home games, the next 2 games were going to suck. At Seattle, it went far worse than you could have even thought it was going to. And then at Buffalo, you really had very little chance to go in there and be competitive and certainly win the game. They didn't. But now you've got 2 weeks to come home and play bad teams. And you need to prove yourself as not the worst team in the NFL by playing well in at least one of these two games. And that development needs to come from these younger players. And I did think that you saw that in the game on Sunday. I didn't have any significant issues with Kellen Moore. You can complain about the Philly special or not. It's brilliant if it works. When you throw an interception, you look dumb. But I have been critical of some of the things that Kellen Moore has done over the last couple of weeks. I thought that it was pretty standard operating on Sunday. I did not think there was anything he did that was significantly out of whack or that I wanted to complain about. That's a good thing, because I said this last week when I got all over him for some of the things he did, specifically those 2 field goals. Like, as long as you don't make the same mistake twice, as long as you're growing as well in the first time being in this position, then that's fine. And so I thought you saw a solid effort from the Saints on Sunday in a very difficult spot. Now you come home and you got to play better. So not going to spend a ton of time on this. Saints lose the game by 12 points on the road. They're 0-4. But I think the next 2 weeks you need to see something from this team, and you need to get a result in one of these 2 games. So we'll see how that goes. You're looking for my Saints content, you can find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Looking for Saints content written form? LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson has got you covered. He is headed home from Buffalo right now. So he's got some great stuff up on the site, including Pro Football Focus grades that are up there right now. So we'll move over to college football. Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime will be with us when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. It is storm season. It's been a quiet one. We like that. But you understand that not every storm season is quiet. And you want to make sure that your policy is going to respond properly when a storm blows through, because it's going to happen again at some point. And you want to make sure that you know more about your insurance program than just what it costs. And that too often, I think, is the case with people in business. If you want to make sure that your policy is written properly, then go to the Highland Insurance Group and have them audit it. That part of the process is free. They will just take a look at it for no cost. And if they see significant issues that need to be rectified immediately, they will help you do that. If they say, look, this is great, you're with the right carrier, you got the right coverages, no exclusions that we don't like, put it right there, and they won't make you move. But it doesn't hurt you at all to have the conversation. And that's what Jonathan Carper and his team want to do. They are experts when it comes to coverage. And when you realize where you live and the next storm's always right around the corner, make sure that property policy is written the right way with the Highland Insurance Group. It's the Highland Insurance Group here in Baton Rouge, online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jim's Firearms Hotline, where we find our guy Denton Day, college football overtime on SiriusXM. He's with us every single Monday. Denton, how are you, sir?
Hunt, I feel like I'm doing a little bit better than you guys on this Monday, but I'm happy to be here regardless.
I'm terrible. I've got a college team that loses, NFL team that loses. My Ryder Cup team got punked. The Cubs, my baseball team, their ace got a broken rib. There's just not a lot of positivity at the moment right now. So hopefully you're a little bit better. I realize things didn't go so well for the Commanders yesterday, but are we thinking Jaden's coming back next week?
Yeah, the expectation is that he's going to be back. I know he wanted to go this week with the doctor's orders, but yeah, he'll be. They can't hold him out 3 weeks in a row. I think he's going to lose his mind if they do.
Yeah, I think LSU's quarterback may need to sit. We'll see how that goes, but they're not very good on offense right now, and they certainly weren't on Saturday. What'd you think about the Tigers?
I think they're not very good on offense right now. You know, I was kind of confused because, and maybe this is where I'll be a bad guest but good journalist and flip this back on you.
Okay.
Where is the wide receiver position? Because for years we've been so accustomed to LSU being significantly better than almost everybody at that spot. And I don't know if Garrett Nussmeier is just not making the correct reads or if the talent is not up to par. But this is a tough LSU offense to watch for the first time in, I would say, probably since Burrow's first year, before they decided to go to shotgun and spread and chuck the ball around the field.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks that are watching the tape are suggesting that a lot of teams are just sitting back with 8 guys in coverage and LSU can't run it against 3. So then the passing game gets neutered because the running game's just completely feckless, and teams don't have to devote any numbers to it, and it's just making things really, really difficult here. What can you say about the job Lane Kiffin has done to have that Ole Miss team undefeated, even with a quarterback change?
This is his best year, I think, at Ole Miss. And Trinidad Chambliss should be the guy moving forward. I think he's really, really competent. He's one of the great stories in college football. But I will say this was the first time in a long, long time that in a big football game, Lane Kiffin didn't get ahead of himself. He didn't try to do too much. I have never seen Lane Kiffin poised, but Lane Kiffin was poised this weekend. I remember specifically a couple of years ago when they were facing Alabama. I think it was his first or second year at Ole Miss. It was the first time playing Saban, and he just made every aggressive move in the book, and it worked terribly. He's going for a 4th and 8. They're not kicking any field goals. He's just trying and pressing. This was a very different version of him, and I think maybe it's maturity. I don't know what it is. But if that's what he's going to be for the entire season, they have a really good opportunity to potentially, not just make the college football playoff, win an SEC championship, but potentially get to a national championship.
What are we to make of Alabama?
I like them. I was on Alabama heavy this weekend just because I knew that Ty Simpson had gotten significantly better. Honestly, this one was more about what Georgia is. Gunnar Stockton looked good against Tennessee, but he didn't look good against Alabama. And I wonder what the trust level is for him moving forward, because they have a run game. I mean, they had a couple of big runs against an Alabama defense, which normally when you have that, you're going to win the football game, especially when you hold Alabama to just 24 points. But I think he's a little bit limited offensively. Maybe that'll come with more reps. But, in today's day and age, you have a little bit of leeway, but not that much leeway, especially when you have your first loss this early in the year when the SEC is, I would say, probably 6-7 teams that are really, really good with real potential of making the college football playoff.
How do you feel about A&M? They beat Auburn 16-10 using that defense a little bit there in College Station.
Much more, or I should say much less impressed, much more unimpressed with them than I am with a team like Ole Miss and Alabama. Marcel Reed he comes with the highs, but there's also, it feels like, some lows. And it's not like this Auburn defense is the greatest defense in the world. So, you win them how you can, but I was expecting a little bit more from both sides in that one. I have a lot of question marks about Texas A&M that I haven't quite ironed out good answers for yet. So I'm not huge on them.
Let's talk about Oregon and Penn State. That was the whiteout there, double overtime, just a classic there in Happy Valley. What's your biggest takeaway from that one?
Honestly, my biggest takeaway was Oregon. I know a lot of people are going to say James Franklin still can't win the big one. I knew that. I knew that Drew Aller still couldn't win the big one. That was not a surprise to me at all. I was really impressed with the way that Dante Moore played. He has been one of my favorite stories in college football prior to Trinidad Chambliss kind of taking over, because he sat willingly for a year. He gets to Oregon last year after Dylan Gabriel and decides, I'm just going to sit for a year and get better. And what we saw at UCLA 2 years ago and what we're seeing now in Oregon are two completely different players. So the way that he's been able to persevere, show some resilience, and then go into one of the legitimate toughest environments that you can. I don't know how you prepare for a whiteout game. I made a joke on radio over the weekend that maybe you practice with nothing but, those bright fluorescent school lights on, if you just have an entire field with nothing but those on, to try and replicate what 100,000 people in white is going to look like. I thought he was fantastic. The Penn State stuff, we kind of this is what they are, and it's going to be what they are for forever. Honestly, you're not going to fire James Franklin because you don't want to become like Nebraska or like what Florida is. So you're just going to keep him going, and then you're going to keep convincing yourself that the next quarterback is finally going to be the one that gets over the hump.
Let's talk about Illinois and USC. Both of them. Illinois bounces back, gets a really nice win over Southern Cal after a tough loss. Got blown out by Indiana. What about those two programs? What do you think?
Big win for Illinois. I thought they were going to get shellacked again. Brett Bielema should be really proud of the way his team played. This was a borderline program-defining win, because it would have been really easy after getting 60 hung on your head top 1 week to then just completely give up on the season. But not just the way that they won, but the way they battled back to win, I thought was really, really impressive. USC stinks. They're just Lincoln Riley is. I used to hold him in really high esteem in college football because of some of the things he did at Oklahoma. Yeah. he's kind of like regular as a coach, man. Like, you have all the resources. It should not be that difficult to convince an 18-year-old to come play football in Los Angeles. It shouldn't be that difficult to convince a 20-year-old in the transfer portal to come play football in Los Angeles, and they still just can't seem to get things right and moving in the right direction. I don't think they're very good. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there.
Interesting. Speaking of coaches losing gigs, Sam Pittman lost his on Sunday because Notre Dame scored 56 on Arkansas. Big picture, like what's next for Arkansas? Like, how would you characterize that job, and who do you think might want to take it?
So I saw a joke on Twitter. I don't anticipate this would actually happen, but I did see a joke about potentially Dabo taking that if he decides to leave Clemson. And like, just the idea of that would be hilarious, because it would be nothing but Dabo and John Calipari arguing as to whether or not Arkansas is a basketball or football school. And like, that would be a really good 2 weeks on social media. I don't really know. I don't think that's a great job. But if you get the right guy, it can be a really good job. I mean, if you look at what we're seeing with Vanderbilt and Clark Lee, you got the right guy. Took a little bit of time, but he's turned that. I mean, Vanderbilt, Alabama is going to be the best game of the weekend this upcoming weekend. So if you get the right guy, you can turn these things around. I just don't know. If other jobs start to open, I think you're definitely going to fall further and further down the pecking order. And I don't believe that Bobby Petrino is going to be there forever, as hilarious as making him the interim coach is.
Alabama's a 10.5-point favorite at home against Vanderbilt. How do you feel about the number there?
I think that the sports books really, really like Alabama moving forward. And I think they're going to pay a lot more attention to how good Kalen DeBoer is against ranked teams. Yeah, Alabama plays to competition, and we have seen that sometimes that's not very good, but other times, like this past weekend, it's very, very good. There's something about him versus ranked teams where they really tend to excel. And I think people are starting to realize that Ty Simpson is not just this guy that kind of stunk against Florida State. What we saw this weekend was really, really impressive. We'd kind of seen it in the 2 weeks prior, but it just wasn't Georgia, and it's a different light when it's against Georgia. I think the books are buying in on Alabama being a really good team, and they're going to climb up the rankings as the weeks progress here.
Bit of a bummer that Florida State lost over the weekend, because that was going to set up just a monster game with Miami in Tallahassee. It's still really big, but just coming off of a disappointing loss of the field storming there for Florida State takes a little bit of the luster off of it. Miami's a 4.5-point favorite headed north to play in the Panhandle. What do you think?
Miami's a better football team right now. Your Florida State had played really good defensively, and I thought they were really impressive. And then this dude, Chandler Morris, who was on like his fifth team in 6 years in college football, just completely diced them up. I didn't go to UVA, as you know, but UVA is 90 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, maybe 2 hours, depending on the traffic around here. Is not a football school, but they got a quarterback, man. And the energy that's coming out of Charlottesville is really, really impressive. They also have a weird history of beating Florida State when Florida State's ranked in the top 10. They'd only beaten, I think, 6 top 10 teams before, and Florida State is now 3 of those. So I don't know what it is. I think it's just because Florida State's been so good. But Tommy Castellanos is really good if you play well against Alabama, but you got to do it the rest of the way. Like that's why I kind of refrain from crowning teams too early. You get some weird games in the months of October, November. Theirs just happen to come in September.
How many SEC coaches lose their job on Sunday? Kentucky is going to Athens to play, and Florida is hosting Texas.
Oh, man. If Florida doesn't lose by 20, he gets at least another week. I think Kentucky's done. So you're getting at least one. Once the first domino falls with Sam Pittman, I think you can kind of get I think teams are less fearful now of letting their own guy go. I just think sometimes teams don't want to be first. So now that Pittman's gone, I think Kentucky's going to be the next domino to fall. And then as long as Florida doesn't get their doors blown off, if they get their doors blown off, Napier's gone. They're going to find the money.
If I gave you the exact same terms financially, and you said you can, these are your terms, you can take the Kentucky job or the Arkansas job, which one would you take?
I would take the Kentucky job. I think the Kentucky job, there's a little bit more comfortability there. Whereas if you can build an 8 or 9-win team, you're gonna be pretty set. And we've seen, as long as you get the right quarterback, you can do that. So I would take the Kentucky job. It feels like for whatever reason the Arkansas, that mountain is just a little bit more difficult to climb.
It's just a hard league to be in for one of those teams. You take a job at Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, it's just a hard place to come win. Even maybe South Carolina I could put into that. Just every week you got to play somebody that's good, and you're going to be at a talent disadvantage almost every time at one of those schools. It's Credit to Clark Lee and what he's doing right now, but it's a bad block to come into. But it pays really well, so they'll find somebody to do it. Denton, we appreciate the time, man. We'll talk next week.
100% as always, man.
Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime every Friday and Saturday. Just breaking down things from a national perspective. I think Stoops and Napier are both going to get fired on this coming Sunday. That's my prediction early in the week as we get toward not the best slate for an LSU bye weekend, if we're just being honest. I'm looking through the top 25 games, and as far as ranked matchups, you got Vanderbilt, Alabama at 2:30.
That's a great game, Hunt. What are you talking about?
And you got Miami, Florida State at 6:30, and that's it. That's not great for you. When your team is on a bye, you want the good stuff. And
this is the good stuff, Hunt. Vanderbilt, Alabama. This is a classic matchup.
I watched that game last year. I was a little bit into my Cubs. Had a little 27-hole golf tournament earlier in the day. I was laughing quite hard. That was the same day. It was Bama, Vandy, and it was Tennessee, Arkansas. I watched that the nightcap a little bit later. So yeah, that was bye week last year. Bye week again this year. We'll see. We'll get to a pick.
Okay.
We'll get to a pick on Friday.
Yeah, we will. I know what you're going to do, Hunt. It's going to be the wrong decision.
I might go with Diego.
Yeah,
Javi.
right. You're funny. Bad liar, Hunt.
You never know. Got a whole week.
Terrible liar.
Can we not have this LSU Ole Miss game on in here? That's just a frustrating thing for me to have
the
to sit
remote's over
watch.
there. We can change it.
We need to. I have 12 minutes left in the show. So
that's true.
It is what it is. Speaking of that, let's take a time out. Come back and close it.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. It's all about convenience over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can go ahead and check that out. The entire inventory online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com. And if you see something you like and you think, I'd like to test drive that, but I don't have time to get over to the dealership. Well, you don't have to. They'll come to you. Test drive at work, test drive from home. One of their brand name masters will drive that car right to you. If you decide, hey, this is what I want to buy, that's great. They'll deliver the car to you with e-contracts. You never have to step foot on the dealership. And then you get America's Best Warranty, and part of that is complimentary valet maintenance. So they'll come get your car, do all the maintenance, the oil change, the air filter, the whole deal, and then they'll bring it back to you. How convenient is that? We live in a delivery society, right? Everything's got to get delivered. But the car can be the same thing. They're happy to do that at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, put Genesis on your list. Genesis of Baton Rouge, online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
One 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge, and First American Bank and Trust bring you the Heart of the Game Award, recognizing student athletes who deliver when it counts. This will be an award. We will award this award monthly. Nominate your game day standout at 1045ESPN.com. We'll choose 5 male and 5 female finalists, and then it's up to the fans to vote for the winners. Each winner gets a $250 gift card, a custom award, and the spotlight they've earned. Presented by First American Bank and Trust, a banking tradition since 1910.
All right, tomorrow's show, we'll have Glenn West, as we always do. We'll chat with our guy Colin Jeter from the LSU Alumni Association, see what he saw from the Tigers over the weekend, and then we'll have Sharif Ishak talking Saints as well as Black and Gold back home on Sunday after a 2-game road trip. But last order of business on this Monday, we'll take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer. Cool, crisp, refreshing, everything you're looking for from a light beer, and the great flavor that you're looking for from a beer as well. Just 95 calories, 2.6 carbs. Still hot around here, looking for a light beer. Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All righty, first one here. Cam Young will win a major the next 8 years. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He's good. Played great over the weekend. One of the few Americans who actually showed up prior
Pretty
to
much the only one.
Sunday afternoon. Yeah, he hits it a mile, can putt, kind of got everything you need. Hadn't contended in a lot of majors, but he was awesome for the Ryder Cup team for sure.
All right, next one, staying with the Ryder Cup. Tom Watson, legendary, of course, U.S. golfer, was a former Ryder Cup captain himself.
Terrible one at that.
On what?
A terrible captain at that.
Yes, but anyways, he apologized today to the winning European team for the behavior of American fans at Bethpage Black. Multiple instances of Rory having some issues with some fans.
Yep.
And Watson said, I'd like to congratulate Ryder Cup Europe on the victory your team played. First few days were sensational. More importantly, I'd like to apologize for the rude and mean-spirited behavior from our American crowd at Bethpage. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. We don't need Tom Watson speaking for the entirety of America. Like, he wasn't even there. So, like,
he was speaking for the team. He was speaking for the Ryder Cup. He's speaking for the U.S.
He's not on the team.
Okay, but he's a former captain for the U.S. team. He's a legend in the U.S. golf. I think it was fair for him to say something.
The PGA of America hyped up this Ryder Cup. It's going to be New York. It's going to be the loudest, biggest, boldest ever. Like, they invited this sort of
okay, but they didn't
behavior.
invite all. They invited that in a way, but I still think there's a way for you to do this and not have these serious issues with a guy like Rory McIlroy doing what he did.
I would love that, but people suck. They suck at sports events all the time.
That's true.
The LSU student section turns every song into a vulgar chant. Like, drunk people at a sporting event are going to be jerks. That's just, it's not a negative reflection on country. It's not a negative reflection on schools. It's just drunk people at sporting events doing stupid stuff like they've done for decades and like they will continue to do. I wish people didn't do it, but they're not capable. They're just, they love the fact that they have access to people they consider famous, and they're going to say things that aren't very nice.
Alrighty, last one here. Kevin Durant said in an interview a few days ago that he envisions himself signing a contract extension with the Rockets and described how a bond and respect level with Coach Ime Udoka led him to engineer a trade to bring him to the team. KD will sign extended for the Rockets. Take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it alone.
If you would have asked me 14 seconds ago what team Kevin Durant plays for, I would not have known. No chance. That dude, like, when he goes into the Hall of Fame, like, what are we putting on the jersey? Like, he's played for 37 teams. He has a different team every year, and he's ticked off by Christmas because the organization's no good. It's like, clearly one of the most gifted scorers ever, but, like, probably not the best teammate. If
this will be his fifth team. Actually, surprisingly, I mean, he played for the Thunder for like 7 or 8 years. I would assume the Thunder is probably the team that he goes in with the Hall of Fame, but Warriors, Brooklyn, Phoenix, and then
now
the Rockets.
That's it.
Yeah, that's actually it. It does feel like it just because it's such a big name guy to be switching teams so often. You don't see it that much, anyways. So,
didn't know he played for the Rockets.
He does. Well, not yet, anyways. He hasn't played for them yet, but he will. Most likely.
Signs that extension. I'm still cranky about the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, that was just
atrocious showing for 2 days.
Just an absolute disaster is the way. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was a complete disaster.
Team Europe was choking on a chicken bone the entire afternoon.
They were.
If Henley would have just gotten the. Speaking of Tom Watson, Henley's 2 putts were the worst two clutch putts I've seen since Watson on the 72nd hole when Stuart Sink beat him.
Okay, but let's just say that the U.S.'s performance on Sunday was incredible. It was a great effort.
Yeah.
If you get 1 or 2 points on Friday or Saturday and the forces were 4 balls, you win the tournament. Yeah. So it was a great effort, but this was just...
Well, they combusted the first 2 days.
Yes,
We're sending out the worst pairing we could possibly put out.
Cam Young's not playing, and he clearly should have played every single
course
event.
setup was terrible. It was just a disaster.
A complete disaster. And yet again, you can't get your best player to perform. Scottie Scheffler has not played well in the Ryder Cup. Tiger Woods never did. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me why, but for some reason these guys can't do it. Yeah, I'm talking about the U.S. Best players of the U.S. never do. They never play for the Ryder Cup.
I'm glad Rahm got beat yesterday.
That was nice.
The worst. All right, that's it for Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place, talking Tigers and Saints. 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.